Good day, welcome back to my channel. So in this one we're going to go ahead and finish the main assembly of the aircraft and then also doing the painting. Um, I did find that, or at least the way it works for me, is painting this together in sub-assemblies actually is working better. Um, Fortunately this particular kit is put together in such a way that it actually works. You can assemble it in sub-assemblies and they all kind of fit together pretty well. So, without further ado, hey, let's just get started. So the next steps now are the big assemblies. So, putting together the fuselage, getting those pieces done, they go together well. I did need to use clothespins in here because for obvious reasons, but for the most part, it all goes together. The next step was to get the exhaust done, and I found it easier to paint that ahead of time, just because it's an easier thing to do because of the way it's sectioned and dropped in. Then move on to getting the wings put together. I did find I needed the clothespins, but they go together quick. And then I did label them just because I'm going to get them mixed up. Matter of fact, I did later. It's actually kind of funny. The next thing to do is the landing gear, and fiddly, but nice. So the way they're made, these detail parts are actually really cool. The details look really good. The way it goes together is good, but you really have to pay attention to orientation of each of the parts. You can mix it up if you don't pay attention. But if you do pay attention, they go together well, and it really does make the final product look good. So even though they're fiddly, even I could handle it, right? It as you can see, I'm sort of messing around a little bit, but that's how kind of fiddly they are. But patience, time, you get to it. And yes, this is sped up, so you can see that this piece also needed some orientation awareness, but for the most part it was nice. Then I went on, had to do the cockpit, and this was using the Quinta Studios and a couple other things. They really ended up coming out nice. This is where I did jump ahead to finish the cockpit because I wanted to close it up. So once I got the seats done, dropped them in, put everything else in, finished the basic assembly of the cockpit. And you can see it does look pretty cool. But this then allows me to close up the front using the canopy so that I can mask the rest of the thing. Speaking of masking, doing the wings, there's these little details, where the white and gray mesh. And I found that for me, I went ahead and used frisket fluid or masking fluid to go into these pieces because it was easier to do that than to try to cut masking tape to do so. And I went through a ton of masking tape. Oh my goodness, did I go through masking tape? But in details like this, I found it actually worked really well. I was pretty happy with the end result of it. So when I got to do little details, especially when I have nice panel lines, that's how I'm going to do it in the future. So, once I got it on, and you can see here, it just comes right up. Now, I did find out later I had actually gotten some of the colors backwards on some of these, on these wings. And, well, I just ended up having to go back and redo it because I had the top and bottom backwards. But, hey, life goes on. Then I painted up masked up the main fuselage. And instead of using the transfers, I wanted to paint it. So, as you can see, I did. And then I like it better, right? I like the look of paint better than transfers. I don't trust transfers. Now, there's a little bit of bleed through here and there, but that's going to be easily fixed with a bit of touch-up paint, just like right there. All right, so here's where I am. I have the assembly done as far as it's going to go. And now, well, not as far as it's going to go, but it is to this point where it's time to put on the transfers. So I need to do that. I'm going to go with the location and scheme that's in the book. This is what, Tamiya tells me to do. So I'm going to do that. I am not going to research to find out just how wrong it is. So we're going to run with this. Again, this is in there for me to, because I like it on the shelf. So those of you who are F-14 perfectionists and get it, I apologize. Hopefully I don't upset you too much. Um, I've kind of been putt-putting though. This has sort of been sitting on my bench now for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks at this point. And I really need to get to doing the transfers, and just doing all of the transfers is going to take time. And I've been putt-putting doing just that. I've been content with where I have, I like where I've got my paint job so far. So now it's just time to go ahead and do this. So I need to set the time aside to do it. And I guess by the time I get back to you guys, that's what I'll have done. And this is what we start with. And we just get started. There's a lot. There's all of the markings, and then there's all of the stencil data, which, you know what these aircraft are like. So basically what I do is I'm just going to start front to back. I'm going to pick a side, and I'm just going to work down the side from the front to the back, lay things out, and get them put on. And like I said, I'm not going to video doing all that, because it's, putting on transfers is putting on transfers. But you can see it's just a step-by-step process. Now, some of these transfers are a little bit thick, a little bit heavy, but they're not bad. They do go down fairly well, and you get a nice result if you're patient. I think I spent like 4 days doing all this, but it ended up going up well, right? So it's just take time and put it on. Okay, so I'm going to end this video here. The weathering is sort of its own final thing. I know that this was somewhat short, but yeah, the doing of the pieces, the parts that we were doing here were pretty straightforward. It's masking off big areas, just painting it down, and I really use Vallejo and Army Painter rattle can for most of it. Again, for those of you who are experts on the F-14, I know that the colors are not accurate or exactly accurate, and for that I apologize that that bothers anybody, but for me it's close enough. It looks good enough. There was some like slight leakage around a couple of the masts. That's just a matter of going back and doing touch-ups. And then, now let's just get into weathering, and that will be the next video, and hopefully we'll be getting close to getting finished. So, the transfers, there were a lot of them. There were a lot of them. And I really struggled with those. It just took a lot of time. And I don't know why. I don't know why it was just difficult for me to sit down and do them. But in this particular case, it really was. It makes me wonder how I'm going to handle the F4 when I get to that one. But, that's, future me's problem. But for now, that's it. Next week, we'll get into more stuff. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this was useful and entertaining. If anybody has any tips, hints, suggestions, please feel free to put them down below. Just please keep them respectful. Until next time, happy modeling.